Welcome back to another episode of We Articulate podcast, where if you know, you know.
And if you don't, we'll ask somebody who does.
I'm Daniel,
And I'm Miles.
and we're just kicking it today.
It's been fun.
It's been a week and a half since we've done a podcast. Been busy.
It's been busy. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have been busy.
It's been definitely a busy set of time here. A lot of going on.
So is it always this busy in the news? Maybe I just started recognizing it, but
Well, I think that's what happens when you are forced in a position where you have to kind of pay attention to everything that goes on around you. All of a sudden, you start realizing things that normally you would have overlooked.
because I feel like I'm not alone in that. I never wanted to be so into politics. And so I even pulled myself out of politics back in the day, and now it's just there's so much. You just kind of feel drawn back into it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be the only one. I know I'm not.
If you've ever been like on a drive with somebody, right, and you have to think like this, right? Sometimes you'll be driving and you'll be looking at the surroundings, and someone will say, "Hey, did you see that thing over there?" Right? And you go, "What thing?" You know, and they point out what thing they're looking at. They're like, "Oh, that light pole over there." But it's because you see it all the time that
Oh yeah, you just don't notice it. Yeah,
overlook it until
Yep.
somebody points it out. I think that's what's happening right here with this,
And then-
this news cycle.
and then you're like,
in.
holy cow, there's a lot of light poles.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you see it all the time, right? Every time you drive by that same spot, you're going, "Hey,
There's more. Yeah,
look at all the things that I'm
that
seeing."
that makes sense.
I wasn't paying attention to.
It's almost like our eyes were open, maybe.
Yeah, I
Can
think you just became more aware.
Yeah.
You became more self-aware and more aware of the surroundings and the things around you. And I think it kind of applies pretty accurately to what's going on right now in the news cycle and the average American daily routines.
All right, so start us off here. What's something that you could say the rest of, not just necessarily our country, but the rest of the world that was made announced to them or became apparent this week or over the past week and a half?
I think you can see this extreme disruption in the supply system, right? The distribution system. I think a lot of people are becoming extremely hyper aware of this right now.
I mean, they did say the government did come out. It was Nancy Pelosi, I believe, not a month and a half ago, and she said make sure to start doing your Christmas shopping. And I thought it was kind of weird when she came out so early to encourage us to do Christmas shopping. I kind of wondered, like, what does the government know that we don't? And then here we are, and they're saying, well, there's what 70 ships now stuck outside of LA.
Yeah, and I mean that's just LA. That doesn't include what's outside New York, in the ports of
Everywhere.
Texas.
It's
all
amazing.
across the coastlines. This backlog of ships and cargo is really astounding.
And let me get this straight. They're saying this is that this is all because of COVID. That's what the national narrative is. This is all COVID.
I don't even know if they're trying to classify it merely as COVID related.
Well, I'm sure some. I mean, I'm sure some of it has to be from that.
I'm sure there is, but I think that they're trying to make this as we've just we're coming out of COVID lockdowns, right? So now there's supply chains trying to start up again, and that's why you're kind of seeing this this backlog because there's so much demand, and there's just not the ability to meet the demand because they weren't expecting it. But if you would have listened to Joe Biden when he took office, he was saying how he was going to bring the economy back, right? If that was the plan, and you knew that everything was going to come back online, how would you not have been prepared for this?
That's a great question because when we did experience supply chain disruptions at the very beginning of COVID, if you remember, the stocks were empty in a lot of places, and a lot of people were out of work. Whether they were forced or just voluntarily left the workforce due to COVID, the fear of it. And Biden came out, and he doesn't obviously make his own tweets, but one of the tweets he sent out was, this is not anyone else's problem than Trump's. This is simply a leadership problem, why we do not have the supplies that we need. So, and then we're going to come back a year and a half later, we're experiencing the same problems, but it seems to be worse because
much worse.
When we had the supply chain issues then, there were not ships parked out. This was literally due to people not being able to work. It was factories that were shut down. Truckers were not being able to move product because they didn't have any product. Well, now there's an abundance of product everybody's back working again, and here we are saying it's going to be months, many months before this is resolved.
I think this is the disingenuous part is when where they're saying that there's a lot of supplies, we just have to get them to the shelves. Clearly there is not enough product. I saw a tweet earlier today, and it was some guy shopping. Okay, and he takes a picture of the entire aisle, and it looks as though it's fully stocked, but they've actually got printed drop sheets of product on this
No
on
way.
these sheets, and behind that is empty shelves, and it's a whole aisle. I think that they're trying to not cause a panic, but eventually it's going to hit a point where people are going to see how evident it is that there is just not enough supplies on the shelves.
So you'd almost say like that tweet was a made for TV, like a movie set almost.
Almost. I mean,
Almost like this whole presidency is like a movie.
Well, they
Like
did
we're
create,
watching.
they did create a completely separate White House scenery just for Joe Biden to
Which
do
is
his
hilarious. Has that-
speeches from.
And I don't know if this is normal. Is that normal? Have they done this, or do we just not know if they've done this?
I
But
mean-
it is hilarious.
I think it's a lot harder to hide now that you're in this social media age. But
So what was there? Did you ever hear why they made that? I'm sure they've been asked about, or I don't know if Biden doesn't
they
take questions.
simply said something about it was more accommodating for the press, that they had more comfortable seating, something about better lighting. But
so
I
like
think
a Hollywood thing.
something
That's
like
what-
that.
I mean,
I mean,
that's what-
there's speculation that it was done in order to give Joe Biden a bigger teleprompter screen. That way, he wouldn't battle the teleprompter as much.
Which he still does.
I mean, it's
It's
Miles,
a thing, man.
Miles,
it is though.
You don't understand how difficult it is to read from a teleprompter.
I mean, I guess I can say I've
It's-
never actually read from one, so it might be. I don't know. Is it? I actually have no idea.
I mean, words are hard,
Words
Words are
hard. I struggle.
especially when you put the $5 words in there.
That's I'll take it for 10.
Oh boy. But I mean, this is where we're at. You'll hear a lot of things in the media, a lot of things on the news, attempting to satiate people's panic pleasure. Right? They're trying to sell something,
Oh, absolutely.
and I think that the average citizen is starting to wake up, especially as you're seeing the price of goods rise. Right? You're seeing the cost of meats increase by twofold, threefold, fourfold. We're seeing the cost of just everyday average goods becoming extremely expensive. And there was again another tweet that I had seen. It was, if you didn't get a 5.3% increase from your job, you just took a pay cut.
So that's funny you say the 5.3, because there would, I guess, over I don't know when they made this decision. Was it those who received the Social Security benefits or something along those lines that they did receive?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were, trying to phrase this as, look how good of a job this administration's done. They gave them the biggest increase, ever, was the way they worded it. But you're right. The only reason they got that raise is because inflation's going through the roof and everybody else is struggling more and more. And let's be honest about this. Inflation, it really, truly affects the poor among us. The rich, the rich are rich. They're going to get by. They have have money. They have their funds. Those of us that are living paycheck to paycheck, they're the ones that are going to feel that hit. They're the ones that are going to feel that gas prices increase. They're the ones that are going to feel that food prices increase, directly relating to what they can and can't spend.
Yep, and you have to think about it like this. For the longest time, the government was talking about how inflation was temporary, or it wasn't happening at all, right? I think that was their attempt at not having to raise Social Security benefits. Okay, because if you think about it in that context, right? If you acknowledge that the inflation rate is jumping as it is right now, then you're forced to increase Social Security benefits, and with the amount of money that we're spending and the amount of money that we don't have, and the problems of getting the debt ceiling raised right now, they'd be in a really tight spot of trying to increase those benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But now people are seeing how expensive everything is getting, and they've had no choice but to acknowledge inflation, and therefore they've had no choice but to acknowledge that they've had to give an increase. And it wasn't that they wanted to, it was that they were forced to.
Yep.
Right?
I mean, and they say this is not gonna end anytime soon now. But before, you're right. They said inflation wasn't going to be a thing, and then it was temporary.
Then it was good,
And then it was good, and then it was, it's going to come back down. And now it's probably going to be next year. We don't really know.
Yeah, economists now, right? They're saying that this inflation doesn't end anytime soon.
Yeah, that's what I'm starting to hear too.
And I think that everybody needs to be extremely nervous about that. Like,
I am, absolutely.
They should be very, very on tenterhooks, essentially, because when you see inflation like this, your savings mean nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What you've got in your bank account, I mean, you might as well just spend at this point in time.
That's what's funny.
Because the dollar is not worth anything.
So they say the retail sales of September far exceeded that of their expectations. So people were spending more money September than anybody anticipated. I forget the exact numbers, but it was substantially higher.
Yeah, is that due to inflation?
Well, no, it was just, so it kind of goes into your point. The theory behind it was people are worried that the stuff they buy in a month is going to be much higher than if they just bought it now.
Yep, so they're willing to
they're just going to buy it now, exactly. So they're just going to bite the bullet now because in their minds, and let's be honest, it's probably true, that refrigerator that they wanted to wait till Black Friday to buy is probably going to be more expensive, or just you're not going to be able to get it come Black Friday. We might as well just get it now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a situation that we're put in. I mean, people are having to make these decisions now, right? Do I wait to buy the car? Do I buy the car now, right? I understand the car is expensive now, but 6 months down the road it's going to be way more expensive. People are kind of bouncing back and forth, and they're trying to figure out the best avenues. And like I said, the average American citizen don't understand tax codes. They don't understand, the in-depth ins and outs of the monetary system, of best ways to save, or the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're trying to muddle through as best they can, and I think a lot of them are willing to liquidate that savings account, that cushion that they would normally ride with, and they're willing to let that go in order to get what they need for maybe for the next 6 months, and you're starting to see people stocking up on foods and perishables.
They put a limit now on toilet paper and paper towels.
Yeah, and I mean, and here we go again, But that's because people they're already expecting to see the shortages. They see the news, they see what's going on, they're paying attention now.
So does this is funny. You go back to the Afghanistan debacle, right? And they're saying, well, we had planned for every situation they had planned for, right? So they basically saying, well, this Afghanistan thing, yeah, this was supposed to happen. We had planned this, even though it looks like a complete disaster. It looks like nobody knew what was going on.
Yep.
It was like a little 5-year-old decided, here's how we're going to play this game, right? Without knowing any of the buttons. Well, it didn't work. So, I mean, without obviously being able to tap into these people's minds, this administration, you had to foresee this problem happening.
Yeah.
You had to have seen as the ship started to pile up, and you did nothing about it. So the transportation secretary, the guy in charge of all this stuff,
Pete Buttigieg. Edge.
So if you were to call someone for the problems transportation-wise in the country, supply chain issues, he would be one of the top people on your list, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's in charge of transportation, right? So transportation involves shipping as well as interstate travel.
I'm clearing that up. I'm making sure that we are...
It is his role. It is part of his role to maintain that every avenue of travel and transportation is open and available.
So what has he been doing since mid-August to remedy...
on a paternity leave, so I don't think he can remedy anything.
So he's been on paid leave
for 2 months.
Since mid-August, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and still going. And it's still going,
And the White House came out and said, well, we believe that everyone should have paid leave to have a child, right? So an interesting question was posed, right? Pete Buttigieg was running for president.
Yep.
So let's theorize that he was elected president, do you think he still would have gotten this paid time off?
I don't think he would have been able to, right?
But the White House believes that everyone.
But this is a Joe Biden White House, right? And I think the hilarious part about this whole thing with Pete Buttigieg is that there's yet another avenue for Joe Biden to say it's not my fault.
Which is right. That's exactly what's happening.
There's another fall person that's always there to take the blame, right? With the whole border crisis that we had seen. Okay.
Oh, the never-ending border crisis.
Which let me throw this in there, okay? Because I saw another tweet earlier, and it was 60,000 immigrants coming from like Central America, and they said that they were ready for war, like they were going to get through the border no matter what. Nobody was going to stop them, right? But you see Biden do this thing where he implements a SAR, right? Which I don't know why those have come back. Why did the SAR make a comeback?
Isn't that like an authoritarian thing?
Typically, yes. It was a Russian. Russians had
SARs,
right? As leadership, right? They were the omnipotent one that could mandate decisions or dictate what was going to happen.
Yeah, don't we have an environmental SAR too?
We do.
Is it John Kerry?
I think so, yes.
I think it is.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're seeing this we see this trend with Joe Biden where he brings in these SARs over certain crisis areas, okay? And then anything that happens afterwards is 100% on that person, right? And then Joe Biden can step back and wash his hands of it like he's Caesar, right? I have nothing with this.
So who is our SAR for the border? Do you know? Was it Harris?
It was Kamala. Yeah.
It was Kamala Harris. Did she did go to the border eventually, right?
She went to El Paso.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
She never actually went to the border, right? And El Paso's a border city, but she was there, I think, for 30 to 45 minutes and was gone again and went to California.
So
she never really, she never really observed. She never really did anything about it. She went down to Central America and talked in front of some of those groups, but never once did she actually visit the border to observe the fiasco that was going on down there.
Has Biden ever been there yet? Is that do we know?
I don't think that he has.
I know he's on vacation again this week, every weekend. Remember when they used to get on?
He doesn't sleep right in the White House.
I mean, I'm just saying, but like, if we're gonna talk about your job, right? If Biden couldn't leave for paternity leave due to his job, I mean, Pete Buttigieg did, so we're saying it's job specific, right? But if you got a job to do that really encompasses the entire country, you should probably just step up to the plate and do your job.
Well, yeah, and especially when a job like this entails national security. Transportation is a national security interest.
This is, yeah.
To have your Secretary of Transportation just kind of be missing.
Yeah, and nobody knew he was missing. That's the best part.
Well, I mean, the administration knew, but nobody else. The press didn't know. Nobody was advised of what was going on. There was just this absence, and I think that when somebody in that position, right, you can't do that. I mean, there are national security interests that are going on.
Yep. That
you should be there to observe day-to-day observations and deal with.
Like, I'm all for any kind of leave for a child, right? Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful thing. But my goodness, man, how much time do you need? And it's during a crisis period.
Yeah, but you have to think. I mean, nobody, neither of them gave birth, so there's no medical cause, right? So yeah. I can understand taking a 2 week or 3 weeks off, and I wouldn't care about that.
Mm-mm.
I think, but when you get into a situation where you're talking about 2+ months, position he is in is dangerous.
You're getting paid for it, and do you think people are asking him if they see him on the street? Like, what are you doing to solve these problems right now? What does he respond? I can't respond to that. I'm not doing anything right now.
He responds along the lines of, "We're doing everything we can."
Everything. Oh, they'll probably parrot the talking points.
Yeah, I mean, you do what the talking heads tell you to do.
Okay, so Biden decided to make a call on this, or was it Buttigieg? Somebody decided what they were going to do to attempt to remedy this problem. And
the way we'd have to see it is a Joe Biden implementation, because, like we said, Pete Buttigieg is obviously on a leave of absence. So this would obviously be at least a higher up in the administration call to force these workers to run 24 hours, keep these ports open, and attempt to get through this backlog.
So here's what I thought when I first heard of that. I looked at my job and I thought to myself, what's the morale of the workers when they get mandatoried more than they're already working, right? They're already working a lot. I mean, let's be honest here, they're already working a lot of hours. So when you get mandatory, I know where I work, not only does the morale go down, but people just start not showing up to work.
Yep, the work productivity goes
so
down.
It negatively affects, I mean, not just the people there, but people that are trying to apply for that job. They see that. I mean, what would go through your mind if you told your wife, hey, I can get this position, but I'm working 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hour days, and they don't know when it's going to end?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that most people are going to be up for that.
And that's what I think's going to happen.
Regardless of how much they want to pay, unless you're talking about $50 or $60 an hour, right?
That's probably, I guess they made an agreement with the union in order to make this happen, which I imagine, I can't be for sure, it probably did include some higher pay, which is going to mean higher inflation.
But the guys, you have to think about it like this: the guys that are in these unions, they signed a contract. Okay, when you sign contracts like that, it's not the easiest thing to get out of. So they're going to do it, but I don't foresee them being able to kind of bail enough water out of the boat to keep it from sinking.
Well, no, and this is just one part of the issue that's happening, right? I mean, the 24 hours, which is odd. I did find it fascinating to learn that the port was not open 24/7 prior to this, but we still never have had this problem. So this is just one problem they're trying to remedy. What about simply the lack of workers, right? I mean, you can open a place for 24/7. You can open a McDonald's for 24/7, but if you don't have workers to do it, it's not going to matter.
Yeah,
nothing's going to matter. And if you don't have the truck drivers to deliver the material for you, none of it's going to matter. You can unload every single one of those trucks, but you don't have truck drivers to drive to pick them up.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to sit. Well, there's not going to be any. It's not going to help.
I saw another Twitter video. Okay, I scroll through Twitter a little too much sometimes.
It is a good place for the news. There's a lot of things on there before they get taken down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things on there that are fairly useful.
Yep. So as I was going through, there was a video from a trucker at a port waiting to get loaded, and he was like, "I've been here for like 6 hours."
Yes, thank you.
And there's trailers lined up all over the place, and not a worker in sight, right? And this is the point that we're talking about, right? There's this. What was the job report for last month? It was like 194,000 jobs.
And how much did they anticipate?
I can't remember.
500,000.
But the worst part, I think, about it was they saw 4.3 million people resign in that same month,
just straight up quit. Yeah.
So you're not making any gains, right?
No.
You picked up 194,000 jobs, but you lost 4.3. Right? So the numbers aren't balancing out. You're not going to pick up more workers.
No.
And everywhere I go, I see hiring. We see bonus hires. We see them saying that they're having to shut down their lobbies. They're having to shut down early because of a lack of workers.
Oh, dude,
so
our
this
Starbucks.
Thing does not. It doesn't.
Our Starbucks here in town, they pay fairly well. They have benefits. They are open probably every other day, only in the daytime hours. They close at like 3 if they're open. That's Starbucks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the position that we're getting in right now.
But Starbucks is going to open 24/7 now.
Yeah, it's not possible. I mean, most businesses coming out of COVID, right? Coming out of this whole COVID situation that we've been in, most businesses that were normally 24 hours still have not gone back 24 hours, right? Most of these companies are closing down at 10 o'clock.
They do not have the workers. And what's odd is there's other places here in town, they just simply cannot get the food required. They just can't get deliveries. So they have to close down. I guess Dunkin' Donuts, there was a meme going around that I guess people were taking pictures. They went to Dunkin' Donuts to get donuts, and there's a sign that says we're sorry.
I saw that.
We don't have any product to make our donuts today.
Yep.
Try again tomorrow.
And that's the situation we're in, right? There was a gas station that I typically frequent on my way to work to get stuff, and they couldn't get any deliveries for like their cigarettes, their any nicotine products, right? And it was I think it was 3 weeks before they were able to get a truck to restock, right?
And that's normal now. That's like a normal thing. You literally, we have to, when we go out to eat, we always call the place now just to make sure that they're open, to make sure their hours are not changed, because sometimes we use Google quite a bit to see their hours. Sometimes we get a yes, sometimes we don't get an answer. If we don't get an answer, I mean, it's
going to get worse. I mean, you're going to have to start calling to see if they've got, specific products in, right?
Exactly, yes.
There are places that they thrive on selling like prime rib, right? And you can't get it, right? And they're telling their customers, right? We would typically sell this brisket, but we don't have the money. We don't. It's too expensive to buy, and we don't want to charge you this exorbitant amount of money for brisket that we normally would never charge you,
because you're not going to pay for it. I mean, let's be honest, we're not going to.
They would sit on a product that would go bad, and they would lose out that money. And this is what you're seeing.
That's happened to ribs, man. I've been trying to make ribs for quite a while now. Ribs have more than doubled in price.
Oh, easily.
In the past, 5-6 months. So I can't even. It's not even worth buying them right now because I can't justify.
To buy a rack for like $7-8.
Oh,
it's 10.
It's a lot more now.
Now you're looking close to 20.
It's really depressing.
I mean, and that's just like even beef. We went and got, I think it was like 3 pounds of beef. And it was like $24.
Just open your pocketbook.
I mean, how do they expect, especially when people aren't getting the pay increases?
Oh no,
but even if you do give the pay increases, right, you still see it reverberates.
You don't get anywhere higher. You're just getting back to level. And usually, let's be honest, it never really gets back to level.
No.
So the prices are going to go up. Your pay's going to go up, but it's not
never
ever going to hit that. Yeah, it's not ever going to hit that spot.
Yeah,
which is really. I mean,
and this is a situation that we're seeing ourselves in, and there doesn't seem to be a way out of it just yet. We try to remain positive, and we try to keep our ears to the streets and see and hear what's going on. But the way it's looking right now, there's just no answer from the administration besides spending more money, which is not going to help. It's only going to further cause more inflation.
So they say this is the reason that the Build Back Better plan needs to be passed, is because of these issues we're seeing right now. Because throwing money at the problem always fixes it. Just throw money at it. I mean, that's what they say.
And that $3.5 trillion will cost us nothing.
Zero. I'm gonna go spend $3.5 million, just $1 million, but I'm gonna tell my bank zero. Nothing at all.
Easy money.
I wish that were the case.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where it's at right now, especially monetarily. There's bad policies, bad plans.
There are. Let's be realistic. There are no plans. I honestly feel like they have no idea how to run a country. I mean, unless they're doing all of this on purpose, unless they're honest, as they were with Afghanistan, that we planned for everything. I mean, did you really plan for all this?
Okay, I'm going
tinfoil.
Tinfoil hat on tight.
Here we go.
Okay, we're doing it.
Let me get my coffee sip. Hold on.
This is entirely pre-planned.
Yeah.
100% down to a T. It has been planned. Okay? They are doing this in order to completely gut the middle class. They're doing this intentionally to inflate, right? The Economic World Forum simply said it last year. They said you'll own nothing and be happy. And what's the easiest way to go and make people own nothing, right? Is to make everything too expensive. Okay? If I can't buy a house because it's too expensive, I guess I'm going to have to rent, which means I don't own that. Right? If they make the car too expensive to buy, I'm going to have to lease that. I don't own that. And this is the plan, right? The Great Reset is in full effect, and it's intentional. They're doing it in order to create equity, right? To be equitable and fair to everybody, right? You
Goodness.
can't have equity if we don't start off on the same field. But
That's
we've
true,
already got
right?
people on different playing fields, right?
Mhm.
Some people are higher, some people are lower. So what is the only way we can do to rip them all back down to the same level, right? The uber rich, right? We have to tax the uber rich.
And do you really think when they say we're going to tax the rich, I mean, let's be honest here. The rich have the means to move their money, to hire the right tax people, to just push all those taxes down on us.
It doesn't matter.
Let's be honest here. That's how it works.
They want to see your bank account.
Oh,
Okay?
$600,
Your $600
right?
bank account. They want to see
Come
your
on,
$600
man.
bank account in order to see what you're doing, right? So just think like this. Say I buy a couch. I bought a couch 2 years ago for $1,000. Okay?
Ooh.
I no longer want this couch. I decide I want to sell my couch. Okay? And I sell it for $600.
You're going to get taxed
Guess
on
what?
that.
It goes into my bank account.
Yep.
IRS sees that and they are going to tax me. Okay?
Again.
They taxed me when I bought that couch. They're going to tax me again.
Yep.
Okay? They're going to tax the dollar that you earned, and they're going to tax it again, and they're going to tax it again until eventually that dollar that you had that you thought was a dollar is actually worth more like 5 cents. It's worth
down.
nothing. It has absolutely no value. The whole point of them looking into your bank accounts is in order to find out those that aren't working, right? They're getting money. How are they getting paid? And how do I get some of that money?
Mhm.
So let me get. You got paid?
$600. 601. Maybe $5.99. How about that?
IRS said I need my cut. I need my cut.
And what are they gonna do? Like, we say, you know, we're gonna tax the rich. We're gonna pay our taxes to this government. And what does the government ultimately do with our money? Do they not just? I mean, some of it, a large portion, goes back into their pockets, but they simply just redistribute it back to us.
Yes, this is
in some weird manner.
It's socialism at its cause. I mean, that's entirely what it is, and that's what they've intended for, and that's what they've been pushing, and that's what they're going to get. No matter what you do, no matter what you say, the government is always going to get their cut, and they're always going to do what they want, regardless of what you say or do.
Which is unimaginable. We would be having these conversations even 4 years ago. I mean, if you went to the average person on the street and said, hey, by the way, in 4 years, the IRS is going to be looking at every transaction $600 or more, they're going to call you crazy.
Yeah, they would laugh in your face.
There's no way. What could possibly? No one would allow that.
Why does the IRS need to look at my bank account? They laugh at you like that's the dumbest thing you've ever said.
And then here we are. We were conspiracy theorists if you brought up such a weird concept.
But you had to see it coming. Like, people have to see that coming. Right? We had been, Miles and I, we've been talking about this for years.
We have.
Right? We've seen the signs coming along where it's governmental overreach coming at you so hard there's nothing you can do to get out of the way.
The people that don't see it really do not have an open mind. I mean,
they don't want to see it. They don't want to see it.
That's true. It's almost impossible to not see what's happening. I mean, government, I wish there was a better term, because governmental overreach is, I mean, it's the best way to put it. They really are getting into every aspect of our lives.
Yep, and that's the only way you can control and manipulate people, right? Is you have to get into every little aspect of their life, every bit and piece of it that you can get your hands on. You've got to get there, because once you get control, right? Once you feed them a little bit of money, you've got them hooked, and once they're hooked, they're never going to let that go.
Oh, dude, that's when whoever was running governor of Georgia, or the 2 Senate seats in Georgia, they said, if you don't vote for these two, we're not going to give you them checks. Mm-hmm. Vote for Democrats and we'll pay you money. That's what it came down to, right?
Let's be honest, the Republican Party isn't any better.
No, they're not. They're not.
All they are is, the Democrats say this, I don't like that. But they give you no policies. They give you they do nothing besides stymie them for 2 years or 4 years or whatever their term limit is. That's all they're here for, right? They're here
for TV.
Yeah, they're here to slow down the process that the Democrats are pushing. Okay, the Democrats say we want to go progressive as all hell, and you get Republicans that say, well, just slow down, hold on, just hold on. We got four. I'm here for 4 years. I'm here for 6 years. We'll just wait, and we'll slow you down.
I mean, it kind of works, I suppose.
That's the only thing they do.
Yes.
When they take offices, and they actually have a chance to push policies, they don't. and then they turn around, lose those seats, and then cry and complain about why the Democrats are doing what they're doing. Well, you've had your chance to stop them, but you didn't.
Which is funny because that's kind of happening right now to the Democratic Party when they own all the chambers of government, and yet they still can't agree on how to pass anything.
Well, they've lost their own side. They've lost their own Democratic personnel.
They are literally eating. Remember, and this is, I'm not sure when this was. Senator McCain, I think it was from Arizona.
Yeah.
So when he voted against his party, he was seen as a martyr, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
As a good dude, someone fighting for everything.
For the American people.
For the American people, right? But then when the Democrats do it, when the two moderate senators, Manchin and Sinema, do it, they're
traitors.
They're ruining democracy is what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't care about the little people.
I don't know if this was Bernie Sanders. Somebody said, why should two senators stop the other 48, right? But it's really not just the 48. It's the whole side of the Republican plus those two. So, I mean, the way they worded it was horrible. Why should you stop democracy when the other half don't agree is what he should have said.
There was a tweet that I had responded to, and essentially the guy was saying something along the lines of, why should the minority dictate who the president is, right? This is a democracy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, people don't understand that America is not a democracy.
It's not.
Okay, we are a constitutional republic.
And why is that a good thing?
Because it prevents the majority from imposing their will on the minority.
Because when has that ever...
That was the way that this thing was written.
And that's what people don't understand. And you got to ask yourself, well, when has the majority ever been wrong? I mean, so we can look back.
The French Revolution.
Oh wait,
I mean,
history.
History is always repeating itself, and that's because we continue to make the same mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Letting the rule of the masses be the will of the people,
horrible.
Right? It's not their best choice there.
Not at all.
Because the minority does have a voice, and their voice should count for something. You can't just override because you say we have 52%, and they only have 48. So why should 52% override 48?
100% of the time is what they're saying too.
That's just asinine thinking.
It is. I mean, it's literally saying in school, the unpopular kids don't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to do everything we can. The popular kids get to choose everything. Damned the unpopular. You do not matter. 100% of the time. That's what they're saying.
And that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what we're seeing. Mm-hmm. And it's just astounding to see and hear.
It's sad, man.
Especially from verified accounts who have these PhDs, right? These doctorate degrees. And to go out and spout off about how America is a democracy. And you hear everybody say that all the time. And they're incorrect when they say it.
It's true.
And no matter what they say.
Oh, this is kind of off topic, but we're talking about America, the Democrats speaking about America. Do you hear what Kamala Harris said about the founding of this country?
No.
So she went on about Christopher Columbus and just went off and basically said, let's be honest, this country was formed on racist and horrible ideals, and they need to pay all the reparations because this country in its heart was wrong. They robbed people of their land and just went off, basically saying the creation of this country was demonic. It was horrible.
It's the 1619 project.
It needs to be eliminated.
Yeah, that's the 1619 project, right? America didn't start in 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, right? America started when the first slave was brought onto American soil, right? That was the founding of America. That America was founded on racism, therefore it's evil, right? Therefore you have to tear down everything about America in order to reestablish that equity we were talking about earlier.
Which is funny. Do you hear what Katie Couric decided to censor what the notorious RGB said about kneeling, what she thought about this country? RBG, whatever it is, one of the three. So she basically censored comments saying those that kneel really need to look at this country gave them the ability to survive and to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's dishonest media for you.
Come on,
that's
man.
what you're going to get.
Katie, you know better.
Yeah, but they're controlled by the talking heads of the corporations, right? These corporations are paid and bought for.
Yeah.
They've always been.
They are.
Corporations are never on your side. They're a corporation. They're there to make money. Okay? They're a business and they're profitable. And there's a reason why they're profitable.
Unless you're the left right now and you side with Big Pharma 100% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, this is where we're at. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with the corporation.
No,
right?
No.
Corporations
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
The free market is a great system, but this is not a free market.
No.
Okay, this is a controlled and manipulated market.
Very.
Okay, the free market would never operate in this manner. These companies that are bowing down to these minority segments of woke individuals, right? That's not the way a corporation should work. A corporation should use their money or what have you in whatever makes their company more productive and more efficient. And you're not seeing that, right? You're seeing these corporations bow down to anybody and everybody that says that you've offended them.
The PR people are going crazy with it because it's impossible to not offend somebody. And I think the person that pointed this out the best was Dave Chappelle on his Netflix special.
Dave did do that.
Which was really funny.
Props to Dave Chappelle, too, because he went hard, but they're just jokes, right? I mean, that's the point that people fail to understand.
Yes.
Right? A joke is a joke.
And it's the way comedy used to be. Yes. It's so refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, comedy was meant to be offensive, right? That's the point. That's the reason why it's funny.
Yes.
Right? It's funny because it's offensive.
It's true.
And just because it's offensive doesn't mean you should take offense, right? We're all laughing together. That was the point, right? We make fun of... You can make fun of any group that you want, right? But we're all in the room and we're all laughing together, right? And it's there to alleviate the stress of everyday interaction, of everyday work and grind. And when you start to censor things like comedy, you obviously we've crossed an extremely harsh line.
I mean, it's almost like the government's not only trying to dictate the way you live your life, but how you perceive your life, what you find funny in your life.
Yes.
Which is really a personal thing. You can't tell somebody this is not funny when they themselves do find it comical.
Yeah, I mean that's their taste.
Exactly. You can't tell someone broccoli is a horrible flavor when that person likes broccoli, right? But that's what the government's trying to tell you to do. This is not funny. What you're laughing at, what you're finding genuinely funny.
Yeah.
I get it, right? We shouldn't be telling our children to make fun of people. But when it comes down to it, what someone finds comical, you don't know their heart. You don't know what they intend. That's a perfect word. I'm trying to look for it. I laugh at things all the time. I mean, does it mean that I'm evil about them? Absolutely not. I'll make fun of you probably more than I should. But I still love you.
It's
like
jokes.
It's not exactly.
And the point is I don't take it as though he's being serious, right? We joke back and forth because it's fun, right? The witty banter, the back and forth is enjoyable.
Yes, you have to have that in your life. You have to. Can you imagine the people that really take all of this seriously?
Yeah, I mean,
all the wokeness seriously. Can you imagine being with that person like just for a day?
Well, you have to think about it like this too. Laughter releases, I think it's either serotonin or endorphins.
Yeah, yep.
Right, and it gives you a feeling of happiness, a feeling of relief.
Yeah, it's a good thing
to start being upset and offended and telling other people they can't enjoy comedy. Right, you're taking away their ability to have some happiness, some semblance of happiness in their life.
Which
right?
It's been lacking. Let's be honest. For the last year, it's been stressful.
Yeah, and
it's been rough, man.
It's been even worse because, right, you get these late night comedy shows that are supposed to be funny, right? They're supposed to be about the news and they're supposed to be funny, but they're not. And they haven't been. They haven't been in 10 years, 20 years, right? So comedy has been this thing where it's just been so lackluster. And all of a sudden now you're starting to get a guy like Dave Chappelle who bucks all the rules.
Which is
right?
hilarious.
He bucks the rules.
Yes.
He bucks the system. And he says, I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to make fun of who I want to make fun of. And now all of a sudden, you actually have this breath of fresh air coming back into the comedy route, right? Where comedians are now saying, you know what, Dave did it, so
Dave's
we're going to do it.
Yeah,
and we're going to say what we want to say, and we're going to make comedy funny again.
Mm-hmm. And it's you don't have to agree with it. You don't have to find it funny. That's not his job.
No.
Dave Chappelle's job is not to try to make everybody feel good about everything.
No, his job is to make jokes and to have fun and
make people laugh.
If some people laugh and some people don't, well, he did his job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing, right? And we're seeing Netflix right now is not canceling. They're standing behind him, which is an amazing thing. It's something that you never see, especially in major corporations right now. You typically would see them say, we're sorry to the LGBTQ community.
We're going to take it down.
And we're going to pull this episode, and we won't have Dave on here again.
Nope.
But they're saying, you know what? Screw you guys. Dave did his thing. We paid him to do a job. He wanted to do it. That's what we got.
And people find it funny.
Yeah. I mean, the reviews on Rotten Tomato, he's got like a 97 score.
Which is
whereas
okay.
The critics gave him like a 33%. So obviously, if you see the critics give a 33%, you know it's got to be good.
It's funny.
It's just the way it goes.
If you haven't seen it, we recommend watching it.
Definitely worth the watch.
I thought it was going to get pulled. I really did after watching it.
I watched it as soon as possible, so that in case it did get pulled, I wouldn't be out of seeing it.
Which this used to be normal. That's the way comedy used to be. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Dave Chappelle, The Closer.
The Closer.
Yeah, shout out to you, Dave.
Right. We gotta. I know this wasn't actually in our topics.
Go for it.
But we've definitely
do this all the time.
We've
man.
definitely gotta. We're gonna carry on this cancel culture topic.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, we're gonna carry this on just a hair longer.
Go for it.
Okay, we've got to talk about what's his name, Gruden?
John Gruden.
Okay, we have got to talk about this.
Yes, I agree. It's interesting,
this
right?
Bringing up emails or text messages or social media posts from 10, 15, 20 years ago is outrageous.
Oh,
okay?
why is
It
that?
is childish behavior.
Yes.
Okay, they made comments in private to somebody else who didn't find it offensive.
No.
Okay, and to bring them up 10 years from 10 years plus ago, that person may or may not have changed. Right, you don't know what their intent was back then, nor do you know what their intent today is. Right,
correct.
They could be a completely different person from what they were.
Correct.
Right, they could have grown as an individual and learned something different. But what we're seeing right now is an attack on anything that you could possibly even wag a finger at being offensive.
This is exactly what Dave Chappelle was talking about. Is happening to John Gruden right now.
Yeah, I mean they have wiped out his legacy in a matter of days.
So so John Gruden, I guess for those that don't know, it's hard. I guess it was all over the news there for a while. He was writing to, I'm not sure who he was writing to, but I guess he was rather offensive towards the LGBTQ community. He was offensive towards Joe Biden.
Yeah, I mean he made comments.
He was offensive to the commissioner, the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell. But it was him. It was his words, right? Mm-hmm. That's at the end of the day, it was the way that he thought about things, which I found incredibly hypocritical because the NFL employs as players people who have done far worse actions, right? We have convicted rapists, we have convicted sexual predators, domestic violence.
Yeah,
these are things that are. I mean, yeah, we wag a finger at them, but we still let them play the game. We still pay them millions of dollars. But this guy goes out and says a few things to offend people. Whether or not you agree with them, that's not my point here. What I'm getting at is we're almost at the point where your words are suddenly becoming more damning than your actions. Which is, I mean, I was always brought up that your actions speak a lot louder than your words do.
They were supposed to.
They were
supposed to.
And that's what Dave Chappelle was getting at, that rapper. He said you can go kill a black man and nothing will happen to your career.
Yeah, you're solidified.
But as soon, your career almost gets bigger.
Yeah, it did for the baby.
Yeah.
He blew up, right? He blew up and he's a major rapper, right? Everybody wants to have him on their tracks. Everybody wants to have him on their beats.
So murder's acceptable, but as soon as you talk bad about someone who's gay,
you gotta get him out.
We gotta get you out, man. Gruden's being erased from the Tampa Bay Hall of Fame when he won the Super Bowl with them.
Not only that, they removed him from Madden 2022.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the length that they're going to appease the minority, the loudest voices of the minority. Okay, not even the minority. It's the loudest voices of the minority.
And if this was something that the NFL across the board did, I mean, I would get it because that's just the rules that they are. But as I said earlier, the NFL employs people that have done far worse things, that speak far worse things. But they still have jobs. They don't cancel those guys. So, I mean, I don't understand the real motive behind all of it.
The real motive is that John Gruden is a cis white male. To use their terms.
Can't do that.
To use their terms, right?
Anymore.
So now we've got to break the system, right? We've got to get them out because we've got to employ more minorities for diversity.
Oh, did you see this? I don't know. It might have been Fox News did. There was a survey done at some school. It wasn't Fox News. The survey was on Fox News. It wasn't conducted by them. So there was a survey done at some university, some college, and they were asking people about inclusivity in the workplace. They said, what do you think about inclusivity in the workplace? Do you think there needs to be, X amount of minorities and X amount of trans or gay people? And they all said, yes, I think that's a good thing. When the same topic was brought up about their favorite sports team, the results were the opposite. They said, no, the best person for the job needs to be quarterback. The best person who runs the ball should be the running back, right? There was so that the difference between those two results was what the article was highlighting. Where are we? Where are we as a society when our sports, as long as our team can play well, we don't care about who's on it. But by golly, my workplace really needs to be...
Well, I think you need to put it more into context, right? When it comes to diversifying in a workplace, people make the assumption that there aren't enough minorities in the workplace. Okay? When it comes to your major sports leagues, the majority is already made up by the minority of races. Okay? So why would you have to diversify that, right? You don't need more white people in there because white people run everything, obviously. That's the understood kind of proposition here.
Yeah.
So when they talk about things like that, they're not saying that it shouldn't be diversified. They're saying there's enough diversity already in there. Okay, they're saying that it's made up of mostly black and Hispanic people or minorities of some sort. So you don't need to diversify that with white people because white people they already have enough. We don't need to give them any more.
I guess you might make a good point there.
That's the way I see that.
I mean, you're probably right.
I mean,
but it should, at the end of the day, it should go both ways. Everything should be merit driven. It should be, are you the best person for this?
When you start talking about meritocracy, now you're talking about a hierarchical structure, and that's a no-no.
Oh, that's a big no-no.
Yep, meritocracy is obviously supremacist in some way, shape, or form.
Everything. Because
clearly you're trying to state something about minorities.
No, I couldn't care.
And this is coming from somebody who is half black, right? I mean, we have to understand that there are differences between races. There are differences between genders. There are differences between sex. I mean, it just is what it is.
In the words of Dave Chappelle, gender is a thing.
It is.
It is a thing.
It is a thing.
It really.
I mean, do we have to talk about Loudoun County?
What is that?
Oh, have you not heard about the whole Loudoun County?
Oh, I mean, describe this. Yeah, this is funny.
I will try to.
It's not funny, but
so there are allegations of sexual misconduct that was covered up by the Loudoun County School Board of things that had happened inside of a women's bathroom in the school system, and there are charges filed, but to this day, I think in the last 5 years, there have been no reports from the Loudoun County School Board about sexual misconduct, even though there are actual case files for them, which means that the Loudoun County School Board has covered up and not reported what they were supposed to. Okay, and this is a major breaking story because this breaks into the LGBTQ kind of issue that we're seeing here, right? And when we talk about the, women should have a women's bathroom, men should have a men's bathroom, and they say, they scream sexist and they scream, you're homophobic or you're anti-LGBTQ. This is a reason why.
Yes.
Is because you see people, and I'm not saying all of them, I'm saying that you see these outliers who want to misuse the system, who want to abuse the system, right? And if you give them avenues or routes to do it, you will see somebody take advantage of that system. And because you made that route, right, somebody was physically harmed.
Yeah, so this was a male in a skirt or dressed as a female, was allowed in a restroom and then proceeded to rape her.
Yes, and this was, I want to say they claimed to be trans. Okay.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah,
of some sort, right? And this is an issue. I mean, this is what we're seeing right now, and I mean, it's really dark stuff.
The shocking part, and you hit on it. The shocking part of it was the fact that they did. There were multiple times that this kind of thing had happened, and it is almost as if the county was just hoping no one ever really found out about it.
Yeah, I mean, they were able to squash it. I mean,
for years, for a long time,
they were able
to
keep it under wraps,
is,
until finally one father had found out about it, and it essentially lost his nuts and bolts. He'd had enough. He was outraged.
I would too,
justly
man.
So.
Yes. Are you kidding me? For all those that have daughters out there, you tell me you wouldn't do just the exact same thing,
if not more.
Not, you come home and you find out your daughter's been raped in the bathroom by a male, and the school's trying to cover it up. I mean, what would you do? For all those that are out there calling that gentleman homophobic or transphobic, I mean, be real here. Come on.
This is the system that we're seeing. So when they talk about these things like gender and race, it's essentially just trying to eliminate conversations like this. Okay, Steven Crowder, a major YouTuber, he's got like 6 million subscribers, right? He does a comedy show, right? He does a comedy show on YouTube
Louder
every
with
day.
Crowder, right? Is that it? Yep.
He just been suspended for a week.
For what?
For making a transphobic joke a month ago. And then
no way.
he did an episode about the Loudoun County issue, right? He went into details about the Loudoun County, and when they delivered the strike to his episode like 2 or 3 weeks ago that he had done, they also eliminated his video that he had put out that same day about Loudoun County, and gave him a hard strike and a 1-week suspension. So the censorship that is coming down the pipeline right now for dissenting views, right, dissenting political views at that, is becoming more and more apparent and harder to dodge.
Which is funny, because how many comments can you trace back to Joe Biden in his past that were clearly racist comments? But when you bring those up, people are going to say that was a long time ago. He's changed.
He's changed. You can tell that he clearly hasn't changed.
Not at all.
I mean, he was just on stage calling a black man boy. You know? I mean...
Oof.
Old habits die hard.
He doesn't think things through all the time. He
doesn't. I mean, he's an old guy.
Which is unfortunate.
With his wits not entirely about him anymore.
I think had he been younger during all this... I mean... I almost wish that were the case sometimes, because we probably wouldn't be in the predicament we are.
We would definitely be in the predicament that we are in.
Yes. You might.
even with his oratorial skills that he had back in the day.
He did, yes.
Right? He still holds the same views, right? Yeah. He is still the same flip-flopper. He is still the same sellout. He is still the same buck dancer. Mm-hmm. Everything that he does is exactly the same.
Remember, he was not going to institute any kind of vaccine mandate. That's probably my biggest problem with him.
My problem is everything.
I mean, yes, it encompasses a lot, but the amount of times that he has lied, and you could say Trump used to lie all the time. Well, man, if you can't look at Joe Biden and be like, wow, he's just as much of a liar. Even if you're on the left, you can't admit that.
You don't have a CNN tracker of how many times he's lied.
It disappeared. The fact checkers took a vacation.
At least for 4 years.
Yeah.
At least. Until we need them again.
Yes.
Then we will bring them back out.
Right now, everything's partially true. He's partially true.
This statement is not 100% factual.
But we need to look.
Mostly true.
It's what he meant to say. That's what it is. But he hasn't held an actual press conference in, what did I read? It's like 92 days now. Yeah, a formal press conference.
That is mostly false. USA Today fact-checked that and said it is mostly false.
So what's great about that is Trump he was in the news almost daily. Whether or not you wanted to hear from him, you probably did. Whether it was through a press conference of some kind or even through social media, him tweeting, right? We heard from Trump all the time, whether or not we wanted to.
Yep.
Some of it good, some of it bad. We're getting the polar opposite with Biden, that we never hear from him. Ever. Yeah, it's just like a ghost.
You gotta leave him in the basement.
He is
in the wheelchair.
He's so well protected. With the burlap
bag over the legs, right? As he's sleeping in his chair with his hands folded nicely, looking out the window at a gorgeous sunset.
And this is, if you're in the position to do the job, you need to be able to do that job. You need. He claimed he was going to be transparent, open to the media, and we've seen none of that. None of that at all.
Yeah.
It's incredibly disheartening.
And that's where we're at right now. I guess we got to wrap this one up with one more topic.
Kyrie Irving.
We got to talk about some Kyrie here.
Yes.
In my opinion, man is still a GOAT for holding on to his opinion and standing behind his beliefs. The NBA, more specifically the New Jersey Nets, there's a mandate that says that they all have to be vaccinated in order to play. Kyrie Irving said, not going to happen. In which they turned around and said, if you don't get the jab, you will not get to dribble. And Kyrie said, okay.
I guess I'm not dribbling.
So he's not.
And he's forfeiting the game checks along with, so he's forfeiting a huge sum of cash.
So apparently they're still going to pay out like half of his salary for the year.
It's guaranteed.
But the man, I mean, he's going to lose a lot of contracts.
A whole lot, yes.
He's going to lose a lot of sponsorships. And the man said in his own words, right, I am trying to use my voice for the voiceless, right? For those that don't want to get this, that don't want to be mandated to do something with their body, right? I'm using my platform and my voice in order to help them be heard as well, as I don't believe in a mandate, right? So he's saying things that the average American citizen are saying right now, those that don't want to be forced into a position or lose their livelihoods, right? I mean, that's the situation you're putting them in. It's not just a mandate, it's a mandate at essentially gunpoint, because if you don't get it, you get fired. What happens, You can't feed your family, you can't pay your bills, and then you're out on the street.
So all these people claiming, "Oh, it's your choice. It's your choice." It is for Irving because he has quite a bit of cash.
Yeah, but I mean, the man is sad.
For the majority of us, that's not how it works.
Yep.
It's unfortunate. So, and what the best part about it, right? He's the only person on his team that is not vaccinated. So that one person on the team is deemed a public safety threat and needs to be away from everyone because the only one not vaccinated, is the problem.
What did they say? We have to protect the vaxxed from the unvaxxed.
Before they get vaxxed, and then there's...
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so the best part about all this, right? The players need to be vaxxed, but I guess the entire police union and the USPS and the employees of the major pharmaceutical companies,
nor politicians.
Congress doesn't need to get it.
You're saying the quiet part out loud.
I mean, if this, I'm not gonna go any further. if you can't figure it out,
tinfoil hat, man. Engaged.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see Randy Moss?
No. Who's that? I don't even know who that is.
He was a wide receiver.
Oh, Randy Moss. Okay, yeah. I thought he was a political guy for a minute. Okay. Yep. What did happen?
Okay, we're kind of going back a little bit, just a little bit.
I like Moss. He was outspoken.
You might have different opinion here in a second.
Oh no.
So the whole John Gruden thing hit, right? And he is in front of the camera crying about the emails that were sent.
Is he really?
He was so hurt.
Really?
About emails that had nothing to do with him. They weren't to him, they weren't about him. Right? But he is on camera, on ESPN, in tears, crying about this. Right? A grown man crying about words. That is appalling, right? That is the fall of masculinity, in my opinion.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will
always
never hurt.
you.
Oh yeah, always hurt
Always.
me. Always.
Right? Always. It's always great to be offended. It's always great to be oppressed.
Always.
To be a victim.
He's a victim, but
And that's he's a victim because of those emails, right? How could the rest of the team play for this man? He said such mean and awful words. Just terrible. They gotta do something about this man. Get him out of here.
They did.
That's what you're hearing, right? This is what I'm talking about, right? Masculinity has gone by the wayside, and what we have been left with are children.
It is what children are before they hit that puberty stage.
Yeah, before they've matured, right?
Yep.
Right? They want to be the victim, because if they are the victim, they get the attention, right? And that's what we're seeing right now.
That's true.
I mean, this should be deeply disturbing to everybody, right?
It should.
And
you know what's funny?
Not.
I think it is reverberating to the Hispanic population. There is a shift happening in real time.
Oh yes.
Away from the Democratic Party.
Yes. Call a Latin person, a Latino person, right? Call a Latino, a Latinx.
Latinx. I was about to say that.
They're either going to look at
That's
you like they have
right?
no idea what you're talking about, or they're going to be like, "That's not the way you pronounce it."
That's insane.
Like, I don't know where this whole diversity and inclusion thing came from, but it is preposterous.
Yes.
And it is if this continues, it will lead to the inevitable downfall and the destruction of the American society that we know it. Okay? And this will be the rise of socialism and communism in America.
And I promise you, the people that have come from countries that are ran by socialists or communists do not want that to happen.
No, you see them all the time, right?
Yes.
Cubans coming up here saying,
there's a reason they come here.
We're seeing this going the same way, and we don't know how to stop it.
And that's why the vote has been shifting.
2022 could be a different type of election series.
There's a lot I want to talk about now, but we are out of time. This is frustrating.
Yes.
There's so much more
to say, never enough time.
I guess that's my final thoughts for right now.
But until next time.
Until next time, yes.
I'm Daniel.
And I'm Miles.
And if you know, you know.
And if you don't, maybe ask us.
Go ahead and hit the share button, the like button. Send us comments in the bottom. And we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Later.